Hey guys, today I'm going to go over your assignment story 1, 2, 3 on the choice board. But first, let's review types of conflict. Remember, conflict is a necessary part of a plot, a story's plot, and we have a couple of different types of conflict. We have internal conflict and external conflict. Okay, internal conflict is a conflict that happens inside a character. For example, if a character struggles with fear. We also call this character versus self. Okay, next we have external conflict. Is a conflict that a character has with a force outside of himself or herself. For example, character versus character and character versus nature. Okay, so your assignment then is to begin to write a short story. Stop after paragraph 1. On the side of your page, list 3 possible problems, one for each type of conflict. Character versus character, character versus nature, and character versus himself. Then number them and have a family member randomly choose a number 1 through 3. Then continue the story based on what the family member chose. Do this 2 more times. Then find a way to wrap up your story. Read it aloud to your family member, write your version, draw it out as a comic strip, or use Toontastic to make a cartoon out of it. Okay, so this is my example. I started my story. Once there was a noble knight who set off on a quest to find the lost emerald of the royal crown. It was rumored that goblins had stolen it in a raid of the castle 80 years before. He mounted his white horse and galloped out of the kingdom toward the mountains where the trolls dwelt in deep caverns. Okay, so over here, I have character versus character, character versus nature, and character versus self. Those are my 3 types of conflict. Then I had to think of conflicts for each of those types. So like examples of the conflicts. And my first example for character versus character was the knight encounters a giant who forbids him to pass. So here we've got the knight and the giant, and they're in conflict, okay? And then character versus nature. My example was, the knight comes upon a deep and wide river, blocking him from reaching the mountains. So we've got the character and nature, which is the river. And then finally, character versus self. The knight is afraid to leave his home. Okay, so he's dealing with fear. It's something inside of him. And that is my example of character versus self. So, let's say I randomly asked a family member, and I said, which one should I pick, 1, 2, or 3? And so my daughter says 3. And that one is character versus self. So that's how I have to continue my story. So here it goes. I'll read it again with the character versus self conflict included. Once there was a noble knight who set off on a quest to find the lost emerald of the royal crown. It was rumored that goblins had stolen it in a raid of the castle 80 years before. He mounted his white horse and galloped out of the kingdom toward the mountains where the trolls dwelt in deep caverns. And now here is my the part that I have added the character versus self. The knight was afraid to leave his home, but he carried a lock of hair given to him by a fair maiden to help him overcome his fear and ride on toward the mountains. Okay, so what I would do is then go on 2 more times. I would write some more and then have 3 options for character versus character, character versus nature, and character versus self. And then again, my family members would randomly choose 1, 2, or 3, and then you would write the story to according to the conflicts that they randomly chose. And then you're going to have to find a way to, after your character faces all 3 of those conflicts, then you have to find a way to end your story, to conclude your story, and then you can come up with a comic book. Now, this is unfinished. Obviously, I did not finish my story, but, and you can add words too, but these are just images I found online because I am not too great of an artist. But here he is leaving his castle. The knight is leaving on his white horse, and he is afraid, but he is thinking of his fair maiden who gave him a lock of her hair, and that gives him the courage to keep going. And then we don't really know what happens next, but obviously he's eventually going to come in contact with the troll and then get the emerald and then head back to his castle. So that is my sample. It's a really fun assignment, and I hope that you guys spend some time on this and have some fun with it, and it helps you to improve your writing. And also for some of you artists out there, I think that making the comic strip will be lots of fun too. I can't wait to see your assignments.